I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if I am found to be lying, I accept prosecution under the full extent of the sports law. Welcome to Sports in Order. I'm the attorney at sports. This is my courtroom. Well, damn, we're already at episode 3 of Sports in Order. Hope you guys checked out the previous 2 episodes. If you haven't, that's okay because you're obviously watching this episode, and episodes are going to continue to get better. The progress is real. I hope you guys continue to tune in to each episode because it's going to, like I said, they're going to get better. The information is going to be coming hard and hot and heavy. Fantasy football, fantasy baseball. Just great stuff and great insight and great advice that you can't really get anywhere else. Sports in Order is the show for you. The attorney at sports is the guy for you. And this courtroom is the place for you. But today, on today's episode of Sports in Order, we're going to start off with 10 breakout candidates in fantasy football. Then after that, I'm going to talk about, real quickly, I'm going to talk about 5 regression candidates in fantasy football. Regression means players that, have had good seasons or had a good season last year, but this year they're going to come back down to earth and fall flat on their face and not have as good as a season as they had last year. Then I'm going to bring the new coach of the New York Knicks, David Fizdale, into the interrogation room. Then afterwards, we're going to finish with some fantasy baseball tips as usual. Let's get right into it, guys. All right, so we're going to do 10 breakout candidates in fantasy football. Now, that means the breakout candidates mean, players that it could be a second-year player. It could be a player in his 5th year. It could be a player in his 10th year. It doesn't matter. It's a player that hasn't, had a top fantasy football season yet in their career. And this year, I think it's going to happen. So, with that being said, let's get right to it. Number 1 on my list, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, in Matt Schaub's second season under Kyle Shanahan, he led the NFL in passing yards with 4,770 passing yards. Now, I would put money on Jimmy Garoppolo being a better quarterback than Matt Schaub. So now Jimmy Garoppolo goes into his second season under Kyle Shanahan as the guy. And last year in 5 starts, Jimmy Garoppolo averaged 17.5 fantasy points in each start. So I think another year under Shanahan's offensive system with some added weapons and protection on the offensive line, I think Jimmy Garoppolo can have a huge year in fantasy football. Second, we're gonna go Patrick Mahomes. Now Patrick Mahomes, has so much upside. Is it only upside? Is it only hype? Time will determine that, but I don't think so. I think this kid's the real deal. You saw in his one start last year against Denver, he was 22 for 35, almost 300 passing yards, a couple touchdowns. He just looks like he gets it. Big, strong, rocket arm, very athletic in the pocket, very very mobile, can throw on the run. But what I really like about Patrick Mahomes in terms of his fantasy breakout season is his skill positions and his weapons on the outside. Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. Patrick Mahomes has so many weapons for him to work with that if he doesn't succeed, it'll probably be on him because there's no reason for him not to succeed. Plus, he has one of the best offensive play callers in the NFL in terms of Andy Reid. All the players under Andy Reid, whether it be with Philly, whether it be with the Chiefs, have had fantasy football success. I don't see that changing with Patrick Mahomes. Third, we have Jerick McKinnon. Now, in 10 years of Kyle Shanahan being an offensive play caller, he's coached running backs to RB1 numbers 6 times. And they're running backs, that aren't really top-tier running backs. He coached Steve Slayton to running back 1 numbers twice. Alfred Morris, a couple other no-name running backs. And after those players left, Kyle Shanahan, all those players combined, the 6 players that Shanahan coached to RB1 numbers, all those players combined only had 1 more running back 1 season the rest of their careers. 1 player had it. It's crazy. Kyle Shanahan gets the most out of all the players he coaches, especially running backs, especially in the passing game. And that's why I love Jerick McKinnon, man. Jerick McKinnon is going to be the bell cow running back for San Fran. He's going to get so much volume in the pass game. Listen to this. Last year, Carlos Hyde received 88 targets in the passing game. That was 5th in the NFL. Carlos Hyde is, not really known as a great pass catcher. Jerick McKinnon is. The sky is the limit for Jerick McKinnon in Kyle Shanahan's offensive system. Plus, Jerick McKinnon and Jimmy Garoppolo, oh man, that's good. Those two are going to make some magic together. Fourth, we got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, I love Joe Mixon in terms of a breakout candidate because of the volume he's going to receive. The Bengals released Jeremy Hill. He signed with the Patriots. And now it's just Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard. Joe Mixon is going to be the 3-down back. He's going to take over the Jeremy Hill role, but Joe Mixon's a superior runner to Jeremy Hill. He's going to be the bell cow, plus the Bengals improved the offensive line. Joe Mixon can catch the ball out of the backfield. I like Joe Mixon a lot in terms of PPR leagues as well because he's going to get a lot of catches. You can't forget about Gio Bernard, but I think Joe Mixon is going to prove to be the bell cow and be the 3-down back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Fifth, we have Josh Gordon. Now, theoretically, Josh Gordon's already had his breakout season in 2013. His 22.4 points per game in 2013 still rank 20th all time in terms of points per game in fantasy football for a wide receiver. Still, 5 years later, his 22.4 points a game in 2013 ranked 20th all time out of any receiver that's ever played fantasy football. That's ridiculous. Josh Gordon is a freak. I remember him in that season, man. I had him. He was, 200 receiving yards in back-to-back games. Kid was just special. The kid is a freak, and he's still so young. So I think he's going to have his second, his breakout year 2.0 this year. But I think it's going to be better than that 2013 season because, one, the quarterback play has been upgraded. Tyrod Taylor is the best quarterback that Josh Gordon's ever played with. And then two, actually three reasons. Two, the Browns added some weapons to take the attention off of Josh Gordon. And then three, Todd Haley, the offensive play caller for the Browns. He knows how to get the ball to his number one receiver. Obviously, Josh Gordon is his number one receiver. Oh, man. Big things are happening this year for Josh Gordon in Cleveland as long as his head is on straight. Knock on wood. Sixth, we have Corey Davis. I really like Corey Davis because he's finally healthy. And then last year, once he got healthy, he averaged 6.2 targets per game plus the postseason as well. So that counted for the postseason as well. So once Corey Davis got healthy last year, rest of the regular season and the postseason, he averaged 6.2 targets per game from Marcus Mariota. And now he's healthy. He's going to become Marcus Mariota's number one receiver. And the offensive coordinator that they hired, Matt LaFleur, coming over from the Los Angeles Rams, he knows offense. He knows what you have to do to get the ball to your skill position players and your number one receiver. And I think a lot of targets are going to be heading Corey Davis' way. Seventh, John Ross. Same thing with Corey Davis. This guy is healthy. Finally, John Ross is healthy. And when you talk about speed, oh man, speed. That's what defines John Ross's game. And obviously, A.J. Green will be on the other side. You have to double team A.J. Green. John Ross hasn't earned that respect yet where you have to double team him. So the double teams are going to be going over to A.J. Green. That's going to leave John Ross one-on-one. And there's not many players in the NFL that can cover John Ross one-on-one based off his speed. So he's going to get deep a lot, past the defenders a lot. And Andy Dalton just got to throw it up and give John Ross a shot. Plus, the Bengals upgrade their offensive line, like I mentioned. That's going to give Andy Dalton more time in the backfield and in the pocket to let John Ross get deep. Yeah, a lot of big plays I can see happening with John Ross and Andy Dalton. Ninth, Hunter Henry. In Hunter Henry's career, in the 17 out of 25 games he's played in his career, in Hunter Henry's career, he's played 25 games. In 17 of those games, he's had at least 70 receiving yards or a touchdown. So in 17 of the 25 career games Hunter Henry's played, he's either had 70 yards. If he didn't have at least 70 yards, he had a touchdown. So Hunter Henry is always contributing in fantasy football. And get this, that's with him only playing 44% of the team's snaps at tight end. Antonio Gates played 54% of the team's snaps at tight end. Now, Antonio Gates is retired. Hunter Henry is the number one tight end for Phillip Rivers. Those numbers, look at the numbers Hunter Henry put up with Antonio Gates, sharing the spotlight with Antonio Gates. Now it's Hunter Henry's spotlight. You don't got to share it no more. Oh man, I can see it. I can see possibly 15 touchdowns. Seriously, 15 touchdowns for Hunter Henry, because everybody knows Phillip Rivers loves his tight ends in the red zone, and now that tight end he's going to love is Hunter Henry. And then last but not least, we got Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry is taking over as the lead back in Tennessee. DeMarco Murray, they obviously cut him, and I thought last year Derrick Henry should have been the main guy. Once DeMarco Murray got hurt last year, Derrick Henry took over the spot, stepped right in, and they didn't miss a beat. Titans offense actually got better with Derrick Henry. He's a dual threat. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He's fast. He's big, but he's fast for his size and for his weight. He's quick. Got the spin moves. Got the juke moves. Derrick Henry's just a complete running back. And get this: in 2 years, sharing carries with DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry has proved to have a nose for the red zone. He scored 11 touchdowns in his 2-year career. Now he's taking over lead back duties. I think he can score 11 touchdowns this year in 1 year. Yeah, I like me some Derrick Henry. Sorry, guys, lost my note for a second. But now it's time to talk about 5 regression candidates. Candidates that, had a good year last year, but nah, I don't see it happening for them this year. Number 1, Jordan Howard. Now, people are like, Jordan Howard, he's a good running back. You're right, Jordan Howard is a good running back. In his first 2 years in the league, he's at over 1,000 yards rushing, both years. His rookie year, he was second in the NFL in rushing after Ezekiel Elliott. 2 rookies in 2016 were top 2 in rushing yards in the NFL, Zeke and Jordan Howard. This guy, Jordan Howard, a beast, man. He can run the ball hard up the middle, tough. But the problem with him and the problem with the offensive system that they're going to be running in Chicago with head coach Matt Nagy is the running back has to catch the ball. And, Jordan Howard, he can catch the ball. I'm not saying he can't, but that's not his game. That's not his specialty. But they have a running back on that roster that is his specialty, and that's Tariq Cohen. So I think Tariq Cohen eventually is going to be the guy that Matt Nagy wants on the field and trust, and just the guy that's going to have I think Tariq Cohen's going to have a better fantasy football season than Jordan Howard. 2, Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a great year last year, his best year of his career. He was actually throwing the ball downfield. But now he comes to Washington, and he doesn't have that same supporting cast in Washington that he had with the Chiefs. He don't have a Tyreek Hill. There's no Tyreek Hill on the Redskins. He doesn't have a Sammy Watkins either. There's no Sammy Watkins. He could potentially have a Travis Kelce if Jordan Reed ever stayed healthy, but that's probably not going to happen. So really, Alex Smith has a bunch of okay players that are okay, but they're not much more. They're not explosive. They're not going to make Alex Smith look better. And plus, Jay Gruden's no Andy Reid. Andy Reid's one of the best play callers in the NFL. Jay Gruden's proved to be one of the worst. So what it really comes down to is Alex Smith's going to have to be the guy that carries this team, and that's not going to result in fantasy football success. 3, Keenan Allen. Now, I love Keenan Allen, man. I could make a case that he's a top 5 receiver, but last year he had a hell of a season in fantasy football. PPR leagues, he got so many catches and so many receptions. But I just think there's going to be too many weapons now for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers that, it's not going to be like Keenan Allen is the only guy there. Mike Williams is coming back healthy. Hunter Henry's a beast. Travis Benjamin's still there. The other kid they just signed, Tyrell Williams, he'll be back. So there's just a lot of mouths to feed for Phillip Rivers. And I still think Keenan Allen will get his, but I don't know if it's enough to, bank on him having the same type of fantasy football season that he had last year. 4th, Marvin Jones. Now, last year, Marvin Jones just snapped, scoring touchdowns at will, going deep all the time, just beating defenders left and right, making crazy sideline catches, crazy acrobatic catches. Marvin Jones is a good receiver, but I don't think he's going to have that type of year again this year because the player they drafted last year, Kenny Galladay, he was injured most of last year, and they drafted him to kind of take over Marvin Jones' role. But last year that couldn't happen because, like I said, Galladay was injured. But now he's healthy, he's younger. I could really see the Lions starting to slowly phase Kenny Galladay into the lineup and starting to slowly phase Marvin Jones out of the lineup. And last but not least, Cameron Brate. Now, for the past 2 years, Cameron Brate has scored touchdowns just at a ridiculous rate. Every game, Cameron Brate was scoring a touchdown. The yardage wasn't that high. He'd score get 54 yards and a touchdown. But every game he was scoring a touchdown. It was ridiculous. he was Jameis Winston's go-to guy in the red zone, especially last year with Mike Evans struggling. But now, O.J. Howard goes into his second year. They drafted O.J. Howard high last year, 19th overall, I believe, to be the tight end of the future. And now he has a full year in that system. He has a full year playing with Jameis Winston. This guy, O.J. Howard, is ridiculously athletic. He's better fits today's modern day NFL in terms of athletic tight ends. And I'm sure Cameron Brate will still be in the mix. He'll still, get looks. But I think O.J. Howard's going to be the number one tight end in Tampa Bay and the number one fantasy football tight end in Tampa Bay. With that being said, we moved through that pretty quickly. It was pretty basic stuff, pretty hit or miss stuff. Either the player is going to have a breakout year or the player is not going to have a breakout year and he's going to have a bad year. It was pretty simple. Breakout, regression. Not much more to cover in terms of those two topics. But now we're going to bring in David Fizdale into the interrogation room. David Fizdale, please step into the interrogation room. Got a lot of questions for you, brother. How's everything going? Good? Good. You need a cup of coffee? Need some water? You're good? Okay. All right, well, first, Fizz, congrats on becoming the 66th coach in New York Knicks history. Congrats on that. That's an accomplishment. Are you happy? You are? Okay. I just want to know, though, Fizz, why do you want to coach this team? Why do you want to coach this dysfunctional organization known as the New York Knicks? I need to know that because I'm a Knicks fan, Fizz. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a long-suffering Knicks fan. I've been suffering since I've been born. 1993. I came out of the womb as a Knicks fan, and I said, "Oh, it's gonna be a tough life for me at being a Knicks fan." And it has been. I see my Knicks play. Well, obviously, I've seen the Knicks play a couple times when I was younger, but since I've been like a diehard Knicks fan in terms of being able to follow the team and watch the team play, I've seen them play in the playoffs one time. One time I've seen my beloved Knicks play in the playoffs, and that's just not going to cut it for me. Fizz, talk to me, bro. Why did you take this team? Why did you take this head coaching job? Why this team? Oh, you like a challenge? That's what you're telling me? You like a challenge? Well, David, this isn't no ordinary challenge. You know that, right? There's a reason you're the 12th coach of the Knicks since 2001. Since 2001, bro. There's been 11 other coaches for this organization and for this franchise. You're the 12th. Shouldn't that tell you something? Please, shouldn't that tell you something? You got to let me know, Fizz. Does that not scare you? Does that not concern you that there's been no stability in this organization? That James Dolan has just ran coaches out of town and ran this organization into the ground, and just when you think of the Knicks, it's just straight up dysfunction. I need to know. Does that bother you? Does that concern you? Please talk to me. It doesn't bother you. You're telling me that doesn't bother you. You know that that's what you're going to be into. That's what you're facing. You're facing a long, a slow, a painful rebuild. You know that, right? You're not going to come in here next year and get immediate success. You're not going to come in here next year in your first year and make the playoffs. This isn't Memphis, brother. This isn't a Grizzlies team that had previously made the playoffs the last 6 years before you got here. This team hasn't made the playoffs since 2013. This is we're a ways away, bro. We are a ways away. Fizz, you understand that, right? You know this, right? You're not expecting to be a championship contending team right away. Fizz, please tell me this. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because listen, bro. Just listen for me. Listen to me for a second. I'm a Knicks fan. Like I mentioned, I love the Knicks. And as much as I would love to see, the Knicks be competitive and make the playoffs, next year, it's not going to happen. And even if it were to happen, what would be the 8th seed, the 7th seed? We lose in the first round anyway. Now, yes, I'm a fan. I like to see my team in the playoffs. But after seeing all these young teams, go through full, lengthy rebuilds to come back as being a legitimate championship contender, I'm cool with waiting. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with waiting a couple years, 3 or 4 years, to see my Knicks stink. If it means them coming back as a championship contending team, I'm cool. That's fine with me. But as long as we do it the right way, and those are the questions I really want to ask you, Fizz. How are you going to do this? How are you going to get this team through the rebuild, but at the same time make them respectable and make them competitive? I want to know, Fizz, how are you going to make it to the point where teams come into the Garden and they're not happy to play the Knicks? They're not excited to play the Knicks. They're actually intimidated by playing the Knicks. Because you look in the past 4 or 5 years, teams will come into Madison Square Garden and play the Knicks, and it'd be a show. LeBron, every time he comes to the Garden, he puts on a show. You know, he proclaims himself to be the king of New York because of his dominance over the Knicks in MSG. Same when Kobe played. You know, same with all these superstars. They come to the Garden and it's a free for all. I don't want that no more, bro. I don't want that no more. I want a player in the team to come into Madison Square Garden and play my Knicks and be intimidated and be scared and leave that arena hurting after the game. Like, I want it to be a physical game. Can you do that for me, Fizz? Can you make this team respectable again? Can you bring that defensive culture back to the Garden? Can you hold these players accountable? Talk to me, Fizz. Talk to me, Fizz. Let me know where you're at. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Now just a few more questions for you, Fizz, before I let you leave. Can you talk about that Marc Gasol feud with me for a minute? What led you to disagreeing and ultimately getting fired because of your disagreement with your team's best player? Can you let me know? Oh, you're taking the blame for it? It was your fault? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, Fizz. And now the question I want to ask you, Fizz, have you learned from it? Do you understand that in today's NBA, you got to get along with your best player. You got to make your best player happy. That doesn't mean bowing at his feet, but doing the right things to make him happy and the team happy and overall the team a better team. You know that's what you got to do with KP, right, Fizz? KP is the franchise. KP is the Knicks, savior. KP is the Knicks' hope. If KP's not happy, if KP's not playing here, if KP is playing for another team, the Knicks are doomed. It's going to be another 20 years before we're relevant again. So you got to make this guy happy, Fizz. You got to do what it takes to get this guy on the same page with the Knicks and the Knicks front office and the Knicks organization as a whole. Whatever it takes, bro. Just, make the NBA, make the offense for the Knicks, KP's offense. And I think you know how to do that. I think I like what you said, how you want to run the offense, how you like your offense to be run. Pace and shooting a lot of threes. That's another thing I want to ask you. Are you actually going to let this team shoot threes and make this team shoot threes? Because the previous coach, Jeff Hornacek, said that he wants the Knicks to shoot threes. We're going to shoot a lot of threes. And then last year they were 29th in three-point attempts. So I just want to make sure, Fizz, you're not all talk. I want to make sure the stuff you're telling me is really what you're going to do. You're going to let this team run up the floor, run up and down the floor and shoot threes, right? You're going to run that pace and space game that is dominating today's NBA, correct? You are? My man, Fizz. That's what I like to hear. Couple more questions before I let you leave. What are you going to do with the point guard situation? We got a couple point guards. Actually, we got 3 point guards. Emmanuel Mudiay, Trey Burke, Frank Ntilikina. Personally, I like Frank Ntilikina. I think he has the most upside due to his defensive potential, and the offense is going to come. He's going to grow into that point guard role in terms of scoring when he needs to score. But his defense is already there. Like that's things that defense is what coaches beg their point guards to play. Frank Ntilikina is already playing at an elite level. So I got a lot of confidence in Frank Ntilikina. Trey Burke is just instant offense. Then Emmanuel Mudiay, if he ever got in shape and really committed to the game, he could be all right as well. But I don't know if he wants to do that. I don't know if he's going to do that. So right now I would start Frank Ntilikina at the point guard position and bring Trey Burke off the bench for instant offense. You agree with that, Fizz? Oh, you like Emmanuel Mudiay, Fizz? Well, I don't care if you like him. If he ain't in shape, and he's not committed to the game, Fizz, you can't play that man. You can't play that kid. You know that, right? All right, cool. What do you want to do about Joakim Noah, Fizz? Now, I know you had disagreement with your big man last year in Memphis, but this kid, Joakim Noah, I think he could still help the Knicks out. I think he can. And yes, he had disagreement with Jeff Hornacek last year, but that's just because, Noah was injured. The Knicks were going nowhere, and Hornacek didn't play Noah. Big deal. But I think Noah can still help us out. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to be in shape. And I think he can bring that energy and that defensive tenacity that the Knicks need and what the Knicks, the Garden faithful wants to see from their players. So, Fizz, I would recommend to you that you have a talk with Joakim Noah and find out where he stands and find out if he wants to help the Knicks win. And if he does, I think we can give him a shot. You agree? Good. And one more question. What are your plans for player development? You plan to really, get it. Do you plan to have a hands-on approach with developing these young players? Do you plan on, creating a staff and creating a player development team to develop these young players? What are your thoughts on that? Because in today's NBA, you got to develop young players. The young players are what wins you championships. Those young players getting drafted early and then developing them to becoming superstars or even stars, that's what helps you win championships. Look at the Celtics with Jaylen Brown. They developed him in his second year. He led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum in his rookie year, playing great. Ben Simmons, his rookie year is playing great. Donovan Mitchell, rookie year, playing great. Kyle Kuzma, his rookie year, played great. All those teams have great player development teams. That's what this team needs, Fizz. We need a group of guys, whether it be a group of guys, whether it be you headlining it doesn't matter. We just need to focus on player development and developing these young players to become contributors on a playoff and championship team. That's where we stand, Fizz. You feel me, bro? Do you feel me? Good, Fizz. I'm glad we're on the same page. I think you have what it takes to get this organization back to respectability and back in the playoffs and ultimately competing for a championship. Because you're a no nonsense guy. You're gonna take a hands-on approach to turn this thing around. You're embracing the challenge, which I love. I love that you're embracing this challenge. That's what I really need to hear from you. And yeah, I'm sold on you, Fizz. I am sold. Case closed. Case is closed. Got my evidence. You can leave the interrogation room, Fizz. Thank you. Thanks for stepping in. All right, guys. Fizz has left the interrogation room, and I think I got it. I think my case is made, man. He is the guy for the New York Knicks. David Fizdale is the guy for the New York Knicks. He just has that, that aura, that it factor. Usually you look at it factors. Players have the it factor, but I think this guy David Fizdale has it, man. He's just gonna come into New York City with a blue collar mentality, a strong work ethic, and turn this franchise around. But Knicks fans, if any Knicks fans are listening, please remember, this is gonna be a process. This is gonna be a long, slow process. We're probably at least 5 years away from competing for a championship. But the steps are everything is in place. The right steps are being taken to make this team relevant again. And it can't be a quick fix because that's what's done the Knicks in the past 5 or 6 years. Putting a Band-Aid on all the solutions. Signing these old players that are still, relevant players to kind of make the Knicks relevant. And it doesn't work because at the end of the day, those players are old. Those players aren't good. And that's not how you win a championship. You win a championship by developing your young players, signing a free agent here or there. But really, most of the time, it comes from drafting a group of players, developing those players, and then either those players become championship caliber players or those players become bust. That's really what it comes down to. There's no middle ground. It's either that player's a bust or that player's a championship caliber player. No middle ground. And right now, I think Fizz understands that. I think Scott Mills and Steve Mills and Scott Perry, I think they understand that as well. So I'm excited to be a Knicks fan. Trust the process, right? That's what they say in Philly. Well, I'm not in Philly. I'm in New York. So we're going to say, new motto for the Knicks. Oh, man, I actually like this one. Off the top of my head. This is for the Knicks and for Knicks fans. Respect the process. Knicks fans, respect the process. Let's go. We got a little more time to stay on the NBA, so I'm going to talk real quick about the Raptors. And it's the same thing for the Raptors, man. It's time for them to rebuild and go through a slow rebuilding process because this was the year, man. This was the year for the Raptors. I'm telling you, I picked the Raptors to sweep the Cavs in 4 games. I picked the Raptors to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. They let me down. They got swept by the Cavs. Dude, I predicted the Raptors to sweep the Cavs, and the Cavs ended up sweeping the Cavs. And I predicted the Raptors to sweep the Cavs, and the Cavs ended up sweeping the Raptors. How does that even happen? Oh, my goodness. I'm so disappointed in the Raptors. But it's hard to be disappointed in them because it's LeBron James. He's the greatest of all time, in my opinion. He's the biggest roadblock I've ever seen in terms of teams trying to get to the finals. There's no bigger roadblock than LeBron James for the entire Eastern Conference. Since 2010, man, LeBron James has literally owned the Eastern Conference. No other Eastern Conference team, besides the team that LeBron James has played on, has made the NBA Finals since 2010. That's ridiculous. We're in 2018 right now. That's crazy. So this core group with the Raptors, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Dwayne Casey, although Dwayne Casey is part of the core, they're never going to get to the NBA Finals because of LeBron James. That's just the nature of the beast. And if this team was young and on the rise and a lot of promising young players, you would say, let's keep at it. Let's keep developing this team and keep trying to go at LeBron James. But this team is old. This team is getting very old. And this was the year if this was the year they were supposed to do it and they couldn't do it this year, it's never going to happen. This was their best year. They changed their entire offensive philosophy around to be able to beat LeBron James. It didn't happen. So now you just got to blow it up. DeMar DeRozan's almost 30. Kyle Lowry's over 30. They're not an exciting team. It's not like, oh, yo, look at the Raptors, man. Their future is bright. If any team could beat the Cavs and LeBron, I think it's this young Raptors team. No, there's nothing to be excited about for the Raptors. It's done for. It's over. No, that ship has sailed. Blow it up. Trade DeMar DeRozan. Trade Kyle Lowry. It's gonna be tough to do because they're both owed a lot of money. But you gotta find a way to do it. If you gotta attach draft picks to get rid of those contracts, do it. Because you gotta build this Raptors team up from the ground again. Start over, start fresh, just get young, get a lot of young promising players, a lot of young promising pieces. Or another options could be keep DeMar DeRozan and try to get a Kawhi Leonard, try to get a Paul George. That could work as well, but that's unlikely. So the best bet for the Raptors is just start over, draft picks, young players, compete with these young teams, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Pacers. Because if you look at it, it's always like in the Eastern Conference, you're always like, yo, the Celtics and the Sixers, they got a bright future because of how young they are. If any, you think about the teams that could eventually beat LeBron, it's the Celtics and the Sixers. Those are the teams that you say, oh, these teams, once LeBron James is done and towards the end of his career, these two teams are going to be the teams that step up, the Celtics and the Sixers. You want to add the Raptors into that group, but because they're too old. So now what the Raptors should have in the back of their mind is, see LeBron James. You see he's probably got at least 3 or 4 years left playing at a high level. But don't focus on LeBron James. What the Raptors should do is focus on the Celtics and the Sixers and build their team to compete with those two teams. So that way, once LeBron is done and out of the Eastern Conference, the Raptors can be competing with the Celtics and the Sixers for the team that is the new top team in the Eastern Conference. Because right now, there's just, like I said, there's no reason to be excited for the Raptors. So they got to get young, become that young, exciting team that makes fans excited for the future. The only way to do that is to rebuild. Hate to say it for you Raptors fans, but Drizzy, Drake, if you're listening, it is what it is, bro. It's just LeBron James. As much as I said the Raptors were going to sweep the Cavs, deep down I knew that there was just no getting by LeBron James. Greatest player of all time. I don't want to hear no nonsense. So Raptors, Dwayne, DeMar, Kyle. It was a good run, but the run's over, fellas. The run is over. All right, let's move into some fantasy baseball talk. What's the case on the base? Let's see what we got today. Okay, I got a few players I want you to add. First one I'm looking at, Matt Adams. Matt Adams, man, gives you power. Tremendous home run ability. So far this year, he's hitting .308 with 10 home runs. Man, you're getting the home runs and the average, power and average. What more could you want from somebody in fantasy baseball? Try to pick up Matt Adams if you can. Also, Jorge Soler from the Kansas City Royals. Now, Jorge Soler has always had the potential. He's always teased that potential. In 2014 with the Cubs, he hit .292. Everybody thought Soler was the next guy, next superstar in the MLB. Just hasn't put it together. But this year, for the Royals, he's hitting .308 with 4 home runs. And that Royals lineup, either it's second or fifth. So he's always getting RBI opportunities. He's always getting opportunities to produce runs and drive in runs. Yeah, Jorge Soler, take a look at picking him up. Also from the Cardinals, we got Miles Mikolas. Miles is 4-0 with a 2.70 ERA. He's the ace of the Cardinals staff. Adam Wainwright's been hurt. Carlos Martinez actually is the ace of the staff. But Miles Mikolas has been, almost as good as Carlos Martinez has this year. He's 4-0. 4-0, hasn't lost a game. And people probably think, where did this kid come from? Well, the past few years he's played in Japan. And he's finally getting his opportunity in the major leagues this year. And he's producing and putting it all together. He's offering a lot for his fantasy owners. And if you haven't picked him up, take a look at picking up Miles Mikolas from the St. Louis Cardinals. Another pitcher, CC Sabathia. Who's the ace on the Yankees? Is it CC? Is it Luis Severino? I don't know, because they're both pitching like aces. CC's 2-0 with a 1.39 ERA, and he doesn't look as old as he is. I think he's 37. He's up there, man. He's got a lot of mileage in that arm, but you can't tell, man. He's grooving, pitching well, excited to pitch. It seems like he's excited to play for this young Yankees team. This young Yankees team gives him energy, and you could tell he's really back pitching like the old CC Sabathia. minus the 100-mile-per-hour fastball. But, hey, he's still getting it done. Joey Bautista, another guy I want you to pick up for power. Now, last year, Joey Bautista struggled, but he still hit 23 home runs. OPS was high. Joey Bautista's always been a consistent source of power and home runs. The averages, not been great, but you're not picking up Joey Bautista for average. You're picking up Joey Bautista for home runs and power. And he's playing in a hitter-friendly ballpark in Atlanta. Once the weather gets nice and it starts to heat up in Atlanta, I think Joey Bautista can start hitting a lot of home runs. And then one more guy. Now, you guys might laugh at me when I tell you this, but I'm telling you, take a look at Matt Harvey. There's no pressure for Matt Harvey. He's going over to Cincinnati. That Cincinnati team's going nowhere. They're not even contending for a playoff spot. Matt Harvey gets to just go there and focus on pitching and not have to worry about, I got to be the Dark Knight. I got to get this team back on track. I got to be the ace of this team. I got to be the reason why this team wins. No, Matt Harvey does not have to be the reason why the Reds win because most likely they're not going to win. So Matt Harvey just has to focus on finding himself and becoming a good pitcher again. That's all Matt Harvey needs, just focus on pitching. No nightlife, no drama, just pitching. And I think Matt Harvey can do that in Cincinnati. All right, a couple players to drop. Now, I originally had Brett Gardner, but Brett Gardner, snapped last night for the Yankees. Brett Gardner was one of the reasons why the Yankees won last night. So I don't want to say Brett Gardner, but you might end up dropping Brett Gardner because last night before the game he was hitting 198. Now I think he's hitting 220 something, but he's just not hitting consistently. Brett Gardner's not hitting consistently. Not stealing bases, not hitting for power, not getting on base. Last year, Brett Gardner, had a career high in home runs. This season, I believe he only has one home run. So if he's not stealing bases and not hitting home runs, what use is Brett Gardner for you on your fantasy baseball team? Plus, Clint Frazier, the young prospect, is getting healthy. And if Brett Gardner continues to struggle, we might see Clint Frazier coming up to take Brett Gardner's spot. Also, a couple pitchers I want you to drop. Dylan Bundy from the Orioles. In Dylan Bundy's last start, he made history. He gave up 7 runs without getting one out. In the first inning, he gave up 7 runs, didn't record an out. He became the first player in Major League history to give up 4 home runs without getting an out. What? Dylan Bundy gave up 7 runs, 4 home runs, and didn't get it out. Not one out. This guy stinks, man. Dylan Bundy stinks. Get him off my team. Get him off your team. Send Dylan Bundy to the waiver wire. Another pitcher, Jeff Samardzija. This guy, man, I'm sick of Jeff Samardzija as well. 1-2 with a 6.62 ERA. Like, what's this guy Jeff Samardzija doing, man? Like, he should have played football. Oh, he did play football in college. He should have went to the NFL instead. Because Jeff Samardzija is just, he's not a good pitcher. As many times as I want to count on Jeff Samardzija and give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, this guy, I think he can get me a couple innings and maybe a win. He always lets me down. Jeff Samardzija stinks. Send him to the waiver wire. And another pitcher, same team on the Giants, Derek Holland. Derek Holland's 1-4 with a 5.66 ERA. The only reason Derek Holland and Jeff Samardzija even have spots in that Giants rotation is because of the Giants' injuries, Madison Bumgarner and Johnny Cueto. If Bumgarner and Johnny Cueto were healthy, these scrubs, Samardzija and Derek Holland, they'd be on the bench. But in fantasy football, I'm going to send him to the bench. Send Derek Holland to the waiver wire. And then one more player, Matt Chapman from the Oakland A's. Last year was his breakout year, I guess. 14 home runs, 239 batting average. What a breakout, right? 239 batting average. Now, people said that he's going to have an even bigger breakout year this year. Not happening. He's hitting worse than he hit last year. Average in the low 220s. Not hitting for power. The A's stink. The A's are probably going to start rebuilding and start trading all their pieces. There's no room for Matt Chapman on my team, especially on nah. Send Matt Chapman to the waiver wire. Well, that looks like it. That's it for episode 3 of Sports in Order. Pretty quick episode today, only 40 minutes. For now on, I'm probably going to aim for, 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the type of topics that I want to talk about. I mean, I think 40 minutes is a perfect time because, Americans' time, attention span is not where it needs to be at. Americans just, not even Americans, just people in general, human beings in general. They just don't pay attention for a long period of time. So hopefully you guys can pay attention to me for 40 minutes. That's not asking a lot. Plus I give you good information, good insight, good knowledge. Why wouldn't you pay attention for 40 minutes? You want to win your fantasy football league, right? You want to win your fantasy baseball league, right? You know, you might as well pay attention, right? What else are you going to do? But anyway, the verdict is in. The jury has decided on the verdict. Let's read what the jury has decided. Wow. Didn't see this one coming. All right. The jury has sentenced all of you guys to 25 years to life of eating buffalo wings, drinking ice cold beer, and enjoying sports. This is Sports in Order. I'm the attorney at sports. This is my courtroom. The jury's out.